the key item in this sprint is checklist alerts. Checklists is functionality that have been available in Colleague for some time, and that's essentially an option that you can enable against candidates, companies, requirements, placements, and it's ultimately a to-do list of action items to undertake against that entity record. And essentially the idea is that you use that to maintain compliance, to maintain internal policy. But previously, the checklist items have been effectively just that. It's just been a list of to-do items to do against a requirement or against a candidate. And effectively, what you can do is select that checklist item, enter in a requested date, an expiry date, a status field. But ultimately, the key item is whether or not it's been marked as complete and whether or not you've met that requirement against that checklist item. And these are all configurable within the admin area. What we've done in the sprint as part of this version is essentially within the checklist area, add in against the candidate entity an ability to be able to stipulate checklist alerts against workflow. And what that means is against a candidate, for example, speculatively sending a candidate, you've got an option here of an alert or a stop as a warning mechanism if you were trying to process the candidate in this workflow and that checklist item was still outstanding. So ultimately you can put checklist alerts against workflow. So as an example here, we've got send CV from the requirement, and I've got that set to as an alert. If we go to a candidate and also go to requirements, sorry, and if we try and send this candidate try and send this candidate CV, you're going to see here that this candidate has incomplete checklist items, reference received. This workflow should not proceed unless you've completed the requested checklist items, but do you want to proceed? So because we have against this checklist item, we've got it as an alert rather than a stop, you can still proceed, but it gives you a warning that that checklist item is outstanding. If we set that to a stop, what that means is, and if we close that out and try again, what that means is that essentially the candidate can't complete because they've got that outstanding checklist item and of references perceived. So this workflow cannot proceed without this item sorted. And ultimately, what you can then do is, go to the associated candidate record, go to that checklist item, and providing that item's been marked as now complete, that then means that ultimately it's delivered in terms of the work that you had to do it against. And so when you run the workflow, obviously the workflow runs as expected. So the key functionality here is the ability against the candidate entity specifically to be able to stipulate a checklist and ultimately stop them from being processed against different workflows if outstanding checklist items haven't been delivered. Within the requirement area, we've got a cascading effect. So against here, if you set, for example, if you were long listed and you set to stop on the basis of that, it's going to update all the others beneath it to stop. You can still amend these as you need to, but there's a cascading effect there just to help with ensuring that you don't set it so that perhaps sending a CV as a stop, but somehow you're still able to process arranging an interview. The idea is to obviously have them as cascading. But that's the key update that's been made as part of this sprint.